Okay, I'm going live. So far, can't tell who's in chat or anything like that, but I will know in a minute. I've got to adjust this a little bit because I'll be moving around a little. I've got to check my phone, find this video so that I can follow comments on the phone. Phone's running. This is all happening on my. I'm running off of my cellular right now, so hopefully it'll be good enough. We'll find out. I want it to be good enough to record and play back. Seems to be doing that. Oh my God, I can't. You see, the crazy thing is that if I've got light on my face, that means there's light behind the phone. And if there's too much light behind the phone, I can't see comments. So that's why I need a little phone like this to read the comments on another machine. And I need my glasses because I'm having to read the comments on a tiny phone. I've seen a couple of comments on the screen, but because their little box shows up, but I can't tell who's here, and this phone seems to be a little bit slow. Well, there's either 4 people here or a couple of people commenting a lot. I'm not sure which. There it is. It says there's 9. Top chat. Got to set it up to live chat so I get the actual live chats. And wow, traveling art guy. Hey there. You're the first one in here. Debbie Anderson. Hi Gus. Good to see you. These glasses aren't all that good. They're just magnifiers, but they're not that magnifying too much. Hair looking lovely today. What does it look like? I can't tell. I can't even see the screen. You know, I don't have a mirror, and I pay no attention to what I look like at any time. Except once in a while I go into a public washroom, I'll see a mirror, and I might want to fix my hair, but most of the time it's just all over the place anyway, so who cares? Do you know what I mean? Anyway, so Sandra Killam, you need a comb. I need to comb my hair? Really? Huh. Okay. Yeah, maybe if I was to keep it a little shorter, I wouldn't have to comb it. Hello from Colorado, camper 4-wheel, awesome. Grumpy old Van's there with the wrench. He's there that wrench is there to do all because he's a tool. I'm just kidding. He's gonna look after me and make sure none of you guys treat me badly. And if you start treating me badly, he's gonna hit you with that wrench. Annette Weiss, hi there. Traveling art guy, do you plan to do a van tour of the monster truck? No, you know, people ask me that. Most people don't really understand. This is a blog about my life, and I met a friend that has a pink bus. I could have easily gone and toured the bus, except she's got 2 very loud, angry-looking dogs, and they bark like hell. So we're in a public parking spot, and if she took the dogs out for me to do a tour, we wouldn't be able to have her talking to me because the dogs would be barking outside. We would have to take about a 12-second tour of her bus because the dogs barking outside would have caused a lot of commotion, therefore causing a bit of trouble for her. So just understand that there's no bus tour because it wasn't convenient. We weren't in the right spot. And neither of us feel like we need to drive 5-10 miles in order to do a bus tour so we can please 5 or 10 of you. Because there is only a small number of you that believe that the bus tour is the reason that you should be here. If you want tours of vehicles, you should go to some site that only does tours. This is videos of my life. So we met my friend. I shared my friendship with you, but I didn't have to. I could have just taken some pictures of me drinking coffee. but I'm trying to give you my day. Then I went off and I met the guy with the super truck, the monster truck. So when I asked him if he minded telling me about his truck, he said, well, I don't have time. I've got to go meet my wife. I said, well, can you give me 1 minute? He goes, yeah, okay. Can you tell me about your truck, your RV in 1 minute? He said, sure. So we walked around his truck. Took about 4 minutes to walk around the truck, and he gave you a huge amount of detail. It's a $1.5 million rig. What the hell do you think is inside? It's a whole bunch of pretty shit you can't afford. So going inside would have inconvenienced him, might have stopped me from being able to get the information that I did get on the bus. And yet people will ask me why I didn't do a tour. I didn't do a tour because it didn't work. It doesn't work out for the day. What else did I do? I think there was even another rig. I can't remember. Anyway, so there's a few opportunities to do tours, but the tours are only going to show you a kitchen and a bed and a toilet. What the F does that matter? All toilets look like toilets. All sinks look like sinks. The difference in terms of kitchen cabinetry is how much you spend. And you, if you want kitchen cabinets, choose the kitchen cabinets you like. There's no super special ideas inside that vehicle except that he has an electric toilet. And you can just look on Google for electric toilet. There's maybe 3 manufacturers that make them, or maybe even more, but there's going to be very few that will put them inside that are like built for an RV. So what I'm saying is that asking for these tours, this is not Better Homes and fucking Gardens. I haven't even shown you my bus more than a few times because it's just the inside of a bus. And 90% of the people in motorhomes, etc., and RVs, well, RVs are custom built, they're not custom, but professionally built. But most of the people in conversion vehicles just put stuff in. 90% of them aren't worried about building something that they can show the public. My bus is a mess all the time, so I never show it to anybody. So the reason you don't get van tours all the time is because most of the time the van tours aren't convenient, or I'm not asking them at a convenient time. And I don't want to make an appointment for 5 hours later and make them work on it for 5 hours so that they get it clean enough to show the public. And the first thing I'd like you guys to do, the ones that are asking for van tours, is make a 10-minute video of the shithole you live in. And I say that because if we just did it any old time and before you cleaned it up, it would be, at least in your mind, kind of a shithole, because it's not the perfect presentation. And 99% of the time, you're not ready to let somebody walk in the door and take videos of your home. So asking me to do video tours or expecting them is just a little bit off the wall. Every nomad is not driving around hoping that a YouTuber comes along to take the inside of his video to please you. They're living their lives and they've got other things to do, and far more things, hundreds of things that are more important than showing you the inside of their vehicle. Anyway, so there's my, my lecture of the day, my Sunday sermon. What you get on this channel is what I can offer in one day. I have made arrangements to meet somebody to tour their van, but I never ask them to clean it up so that we can show it to you. That makes no sense. Okay, rant. Yeah, that's right. Grumpy old man. I'm here to listen to Gus rant again. That's major rant. It's just that what happens is that I think I create, give you some interesting content, and then people bitched about what's not in it. Instead of commenting about what is in my video or is in the message I'm trying to deliver, their comments and suggestions are about what's not in it. I don't give a fuck what you think I should have put in it. You either like my video or you don't, and you move to another another creator, somebody else who's asking you what to put in and then calls you up and says, hey, it's in this video. Screw that. I get $2 per video. I'm not listening to, I'm not going to be creating anything for anybody until they start sending me some money that would pay for it. That would be ridiculous. And that's just normal kind of logic. I'm not asking for people to send me money. Well, I shouldn't have started this. This is Sunday morning and I'm in a grumpy mood, obviously. Anyway, there's a channel on YouTube called Blue. Why would anybody be coming to my page to tell me that there's another channel? Like, why would that be? Are you just here to advertise them? Or what about them? Right? You could say there's a channel called, what is it? Blue, no, I've lost it. Oh, it was called Blue Bus Dave. Sandra Killian is advertising Blue Bus Dave on Gus and the Bus's channel, but she doesn't tell us why we should watch that channel. So if you come back, make another comment, and tell us why Blue Bus Dave is important to mention, then let me know, or let us know. It's your story, education, former life and career. Wife, kids, how did you come to this place? Well, Dan, that's the easy stuff to talk about. I was married for altogether for 17 years. We lived together for a while, then had kids, got married, and we managed to live together for another 7 to 10 years as a married couple. And then I decided to leave because I fell in love with someone else. It's pretty simple. Then over the years, I could see my kids now and then, but not like, sort of regularly, but only for a little while. Then they became older, and it was kind of, how would I put it? We didn't see each other too much through their later teen years. Now I see them, 3-4 times a year, each year within the 6 months that I'm back in my city in Vancouver. So that's my history. I've got 2 boys. They are 40 and 38 this spring. What else about kids? Oh, how did you come to this place? Well, one of the things I can tell you is that if I stayed with my wife, if we had all stayed together, I'd be sitting around with about $6 million worth of real estate now. Unless I had somehow other catastrophe happen, like I lost a job or something like that. But that's the trajectory we were on at the time. But when you do divorce and you have child support and other things going on, I never got back into investing anything in my future. So now I live on a basic pension that is available to minimum pension that's available to everybody in Canada. So I basically live on the poverty line. And my oldest son is, well, both of them are doing reasonably well. They're both happy and financially independent. But one of the things I could say is that even if I didn't divorce my wife at that time and I had $6 million, I'd be divorcing my wife now, giving my kids a couple of million each, and my wife would have $2 million, I'd have $2 million. And if I had $2 million in the bank, I'd be able to park my motorhome in a RV site every night. What I mean by that is that the income, the additional income that I would receive from having roughly $1.5 or $2 million in the bank would be just enough to live the same lifestyle as that I have, with more security in a prettier RV or a more expensive RV, but I would be traveling down the same road. The difference is that I'd be parking in a motorhome type of campsite, hanging out with another old guy like me, drinking a scotch in the morning, maybe going and finding a golf range or something like that. And so I'd be hanging out. The lifestyle would be a little bit different. But the biggest difference is I'd be hanging out with old guys that have money in the bank, rather than kind of living on beaches and in prettier places and meeting a whole pile of new people. Because I'm in an old bus or a bus with my name on the side, I meet an amazing number of people of all kinds of ages because many people are interested in the lifestyle or just what kind of person does this, whatever. I meet a lot of people. Because I'm meeting people of different ages and different financial demographics, my brain is learning new things. My brain is getting younger. I don't know how to put that. It's more active on more different levels than it would be if I was just waking up, having a martini, and going to the golf course in that comfortable lifestyle. So what else could I talk about with this? Oh yeah, I ended up in my bus because my bus was the cheapest of all the vehicles that I could purchase. A high top van was more money, even though it got about the same gas mileage. So any vehicle I could walk in was always more money, and usually twice as much money. So I ended up in a bus. And now that I'm in it, I'm really pleased with it. I can't think of anything that would be better, to tell you the truth, unless somebody was looking for something that hides more easily or looks prettier. In terms of usage, the bus is probably the best bang for the buck. Anyway, so let's move on. Don Brown, do you have a retirement plan? Dan Brown, I am retired. I can't plan. I mean, this is my retirement. What I've done is trade a house which caused me to stay in a city that was often not, where the weather was often not good. For 6 months of the year, Vancouver is raining or cloudy or cold through the winter. So I come down to California, and if I had an apartment, I would not be able to afford to do this because I would be paying for an apartment right now while I'm down here in California. So if I come down here for 6 months and then go back north for 6 months and I'm living in my bus, I don't have to pay for that apartment. So my bus is, it's a financial necessity given my pension plan. It's a financial necessity for me to move out of my apartment, even though the government will subsidize an apartment, a huge percentage of my apartment, because I'm on that, what do you call it, poverty line income. The government would subsidize my apartment, so I can go back, I can be in an apartment anytime I want to. It's not going to be the biggest and best. It's not going to be anything like what I was used to when I was the vice president of a large company, but it'll be comfortable, and I can go back and be in an apartment. The only thing I can't do if I have an apartment is travel. So, and I couldn't, how would I put it? Since I retired, I've discovered that money, larger amounts of money, only are a little bit make retirement a little bit more comfortable, but they don't make it better. And so comforts are something that I've never actually, how would I put it? I've never really needed or appreciated. So, so I don't miss it now. I don't miss it at all. When I made a lot of money and I had a lot of power and all that kind of stuff, I wasn't happier. I was unhappier. And the easiest way, one of the reasons for that is that financial situation, etc., and the responsibility that I had in my position required me to be separate from an awful lot of people. And I'll just give you an example. If I was walking down the street in my city with, let's say, a president or vice president of another company, and we're walking along, and I mean, what if some hooker came around the corner and said, "Hi, Gus"? I mean, I might know her only because I've had a coffee with her or something. But because she looks like a hooker and walks past me and I'm friendly with her, this president of this company might get the whole wrong idea. So I had to disassociate myself from all kinds of people that were not at my level, I guess is what you might call it. So I had a very small life. It might had lots of money, but a very small life, and I couldn't go and do all the things that I want to do with friends because I had more money than them. The things that I wanted to do cost more and they couldn't afford it. So I often had to pay for them or just not do it. So, more money didn't make me happier at all. It just actually caused more problems than a very simple life brings you no problems whatsoever. Paul Hunter, if I had more money, I'd just travel more. Well, uh, that's exactly true. I don't think you don't. The thing is, you don't need money unless you sort of have restrictions. Like, for example, if the only travel I wanted to do was across Canada, down the east coast of the United States, across the southern states, and back up to Vancouver, I couldn't afford it because the gas, I would burn too much fuel on that trip. But if I take a 6 month trip to Southern California, and there and back is going to cost me about $1,000 in fuel. So that's $150 more per month to travel a shorter distance. So you can, money's important. You got to be able to do it, but how would I put it? You need enough to be sufficient, and the amount that you need is probably not much more than a Canadian or American pension, typical government pension plan. But if you do that, you can't pay rent. Oh, look at that. There's a $6.99. Hope to see you in April in Vancouver, from the traveling art guy. Thanks for the super chat. Those super chats really help. It's kind of like sometimes my YouTube income is like $60, and you throw in a couple of these super chats, and it gets up to the $100. That's the minimum amount YouTube will pay. So some of these super chats actually ensure that I get a payment from YouTube every month. But it's super for fuel. Much of my life was tainted by substance abuse, alcohol, and this seems fairly common among many nomads. Did this impact? No, I haven't. I've been a kind of, my drugs, or at least alcohol, has always been a social thing for me, and I would, I might go with a friend and we would drink a couple of beer for lunch, or when in business I would drink a couple of glasses of wine with lunch. When I was single, as a very young man, like in my 20s, I abused it quite regularly. But I've been a single guy since I've been about 45, more or less single. And my partners were never consuming lots of alcohol. So I'll give you an example. While I was married, I would go out and buy a bunch of booze because my family's coming over for Christmas. So I'd buy a bunch of cases of beer and some, maybe some vodka, scotch or something like that. And the next Christmas and the next Christmas and the next Christmas, I'd still have that stuff waiting for people to come around and drink it. So I've been very clean living, more or less, not into abuse of anything, other than I smoke and I continue to smoke. That's the only sin I have, or the only one of those abuses. And I'm 70, I smoke, I seem to be in pretty good health, way better health than most of these. When I'm 70 years old and I come down to the United States, and I feel like a very healthy, handsome 70-year-old man. When I'm in Canada, I just feel like an old man. It's because the Americans have how would I put it? Because of their healthcare system, they're not sort of as well maintained, I suppose. And there's an awful lot of obesity. I think it's some of the steroids and things like that are put in foods, or not put in, but end up in their foods. So like eating an egg down here might have more steroids in it, for example. The traveling art guy, Grumpy. How are you now? Says Dan. I don't know what Dan's talking about. He is 70, says grumpy old man. You think you're old. Actually, 70 is not a bad. My father died when he was 50, so I had planned to live my life so that I would have a completed and full life by the time I was 50. And I more or less did that. But I didn't pay much attention to, my diet and things like that, and yet I'm still reasonably healthy, and I think I'm just a skinny guy with a fat belly. But my friends tell me, oh no, no. I mean, my friends in America simply say, oh no, you're thin compared to, and I am down here. For some reason, I'm a relatively thin guy compared to an awful lot of Americans my age. So live chat says maybe 24 people. If there's 24 people there watching, come and put a comment in or ask a question. Vodka and lemons, yeah, that'd be. It's interesting. I like drinking, but it's a totally social experience, and I honestly, I can tell you this with absolute honesty. I didn't even know until I was about 50 years old that people actually drink to get high or to get drunk. I drank because it was a social drink, and it made me feel a little bit better. But I never intended to get drunk. I always wanted to try to avoid that. And I was surprised when I grew up and wasn't married in an insulated kind of life. When I became single, I was completely surprised. There's actually people who want to drink to get drunk. It shows you how innocent I am. Yeah, that's what I mean. People, Dan Brown mentioned this, people drink to escape and forget. I haven't actually ever in my life wanted to escape. My life's been good, so I've never wanted to escape it. And there aren't many things that I have done that I wanted to forget, or things that were in my mind that I couldn't somehow get out of my mind. So, and alcohol, in my case, I think alcohol would, if I wanted to forget something, alcohol would be worse. It would, cause me to get more focused on that thing that I'm trying to forget. So, it's the same with weed, with marijuana. When I was younger, we could smoke huge, big cigarettes like this, but like huge things, and we would buy what was called an ounce at that time and smoke it all. 4 or 5 of us just smoke it all, and I would be barely high. Sounds kind of funny, but I would be barely high. Now, if I tried one and it was just a wee little tiny little rolled up thing, and I take one puff of it, I'm like hallucinating almost. So now it's way too strong for me to use it. Glad Bubblegum Bus, it says Bubblegum Bus is in the chat, guys. Click on her link and go subscribe. She's going to start making some videos. Did you tell people how many hours we spent talking? No, I think we only spent like a couple hours, didn't we? I think we did say, I said 2 hours in a video, you said 5, but I think we only spent 2 hours. And I did tell him, you got 2 dogs. If you had to take your dogs out of the bus and they were barking in the parking lot, I told him it's just not a convenient time to go tour the inside of your bus. Because they're all asking. I went through a rant about them asking for tours all the time, assuming that everybody's always ready, their buses or their vehicles always perfectly clean for a tour. Almost nobody lives in a completely clean place all the time, so you can't do tours without lots of notice and stuff. Or there's 2 people. Sometimes there's a couple, and the guy or the girl's driving, and the other person can be cleaning up while they're driving, so they can drive and keep the place clean and stuff. They can do that much like a regular married couple. But a single person driving from A to B than trying to make a video about driving from A to B, and trying to make a video when they, or some video footage when they get to B, and trying to make some video footage about this, and editing that video, and then driving to find a place to stay, does not leave them much time to clean the kitchen counter. Anyway, so no, I didn't tell them how long we were talking. When will you be passing through Oregon? That's actually why I did today's video. I'm leaving, I'm going to be in Pismo Beach on the 12th of March, and then I'm heading north, sort of up the coast, but I'm going to go to Crescent City, California, and then from there on, I don't know which route I'm going to take. And so, depending on, like, if you're in Oregon and you want to meet with me, send me an email, and I'll try and organize some kind of, I don't know, some way to meet up with some people. Maybe even a meetup, but I would have to hear from some people, so I know that, in fact, I mean, I'm not like I've got 3,000 followers. So it's very unlikely if I had a meetup in, say, Portland, it's very unlikely there's more than like maybe 10 subscribers, and only maybe 2 might want to see me. So that would make no sense for me to spend a day trying to only meet 2 people. Unless, you know, like I say, somebody contacts me, then I'll plan to meet them, because I know I'm going to meet one person for sure, and then maybe I can mention to others that I'll be in that area. So, but otherwise I'm driving north, and I've got friends that I've met in the past, like I think it's Northwest Van Man is an Instagram channel. I talked to him a lot at the RTR not this year, but the year before, and I would like to see him again, so I might be dropping into his town, and so I might stop in a few towns in Oregon and Washington, but by the time I get past Crescent City, I'm really a day and a half or 2 days away from home. But I will stop. If anybody writes to me, I'll probably meet with them. Who else we got on here? Jules, Gus, when we'll be going through Oregon. Yeah, if you write to me, my email's on my description. I'll be able to get more and more accurate with my, like, when I'm going to be where. You know, the thing about being a nomad is I can go wherever the heck I want, whenever the hell I want. And then people get a hold of me and say, well, when will you be in Sacramento? I'm like, I don't know, because I don't know what I'm going to want the morning before I get to Sacramento. I might not even go through Sacramento. So I won't know unless somebody makes a plan with me. But I have sort of a general kind of plan. So I subbed to, oh great. Did you hear that, Bubblegum Bus? Janice Lala subbed. So hello, Gus from Pennsylvania. That's Robin Davis from Pennsylvania. Bubblegum Bus from Rick Johnson, Bluebird. The coronavirus in Oregon, Washington. Look, I'm 70. There's been a flu epidemic every year. Every 4 years, I get one of the newer strains, and it annoys me for like a week or so. This is a virus that's worse than the average flu virus, because it's killing more people, or like it's killing a higher percentage of people who catch it. But I've got a pretty robust system. It's I'm not saying I'm stronger than the coronavirus. I'm not saying that, but I'm not the kind of person that gets fearful about that. I don't know that I could in fact inoculate myself from I'm using public washrooms and public facilities, and I'm walking into grocery stores almost every day, so I'm around the public a lot. Even if I walked around with a mask, I don't, that might help, but I don't think it would save me. If the coronavirus is going to attach itself to me and kill me, I'm not going to be able to do much about it. Passion Time in Texas. Do you believe your tour here in the U.S. has been overall a healthy, enriching experience? Well, being in the U.S. isn't. The United States is so similar to Canada. I'm not learning new things. Well, I am. I should say this. Every once in a while in the United States, I'm going to run into somebody who thinks the world is flat. Every once in a while in the United States, I'm going to run into somebody who does not believe in evolution, thinks the world is 8,000 years old. Every once in a while in the United States, I'm going to run into some of the most ignorant people I've met on the planet. I don't run into any of those people in Canada because we have an education system that doesn't fail as many people. When I say this, I've heard of these people who believe the world is flat, but I never actually physically met one till I came to the United States. And there are Canadians who think that there's no such thing as evolution. But I never ran into them until I come to the United States. I think Canadians would be more quiet if they were sort of off the mainstream, or off, how would I put it, different from normal. They would try to hide that, perhaps, because Canadians would have a lot less, how would I put it? They would be a lot, maybe not, they're nice, so they wouldn't be verbally judgmental, but they would leave that person alone, because crazy's crazy, and you just don't want crazy people in your life, I don't think. It's not something, you know what I'm trying to say? I don't know what I'm trying to say, but when I come to the United States, I'm really surprised how low some people can go or be pushed, because my country doesn't create the same percentage of those people. Don't get pissed off at me for what I'm saying. That is what I've learned. When I went to other countries like Peru many years ago, the main takeaway from experiences in countries that were super third world, that were very poor, was how happy the poorest people are compared to the sort of entitled or rich people. So, but I don't see that so much in the United States. Generally speaking, the people in the United States, everybody in the United States is very friendly and very nice, very warm, very giving, actually. They're like, hey, I got to have some of my ice cream, or something like that. They're always trying to share stuff. And I hope that doesn't offend people. The other thing is the dependence on guns. I'm 6'1", been 200 pounds all my life. If one of these 5-footers had a gun and he pulled it out and shot me, he would be dead, not me. I don't, you know what I mean? I don't know how to explain it. A bullet, unless it goes in your head, wouldn't stop me from killing that guy who just shot me. I don't know how to put it. It's a kind of a toy. It only makes people believe they're safer. And then if there's two guys with guns, neither's safe, right? What is this? Expression is why many drink, or depression is why, but some more, I'm looking back at it, some are more depressed, etc. Well, like people, I don't know why people drink, except that they feel it helps them feel better. But if you wake up and the world is beautiful all around you, and you have energy, and then you start to drink, the world's gonna lose its beauty, and you'll lose your energy. It's like a no-win situation. But my brother was an alcoholic and ended up blowing his head off with a gun. So, I understand how alcoholism can completely destroy a life, but I don't know what it is that causes people to do it. Yeah, I'm trying to get Passion, Texas. Do you believe that you're? Oh no, yeah, I just answered that about the tour in the States. There's nothing. Canadians and Americans are so much similar, and in fact, if you go to England, they're sort of the same. People are more or less the same all over the world. The difference is the amount of what do you call it? The regime they live under, and the amount of freedom that people have, or the power that individuals think they have. When I talk, I'm going to go back to this because the one thing that, how would I put it? Because there's so much money in American politics and it's so open that somebody like Mr. Romney, when he was running against Obama, put in his taxes, and he had showed how much money he had paid in taxes, how much he had earned, and what percentage of, that he had paid $1 million to a super PAC to make sure his income tax stayed low. So I did a little math and realized that, of course, he would put in $1 million into the super PAC, because if the super PAC was successful, he'd get $7 million back. That makes Romney a good businessman because he's investing $1 million to get $7 million back. But what's happening with that $1 million is it goes somehow to the senators or House of Representatives, wherever it would be. It gets split up amongst those guys, and if you get 50 or 60 guys only as rich as Romney, they will all put in $1 million. Now, I don't know where that $1 million goes to. It might go to the senator's son or daughter's house or into their re-election campaign. But no matter how you put it, Romney's paying protection money. It's called protection money because it protects him from being used or hurt in the future. So he's paying protection money, and we call it protection money because I call it protection money because it kind of went to the mob in the old days. But they cleaned up the mob in New York, etc., from what I understand. But they must have moved to Washington, because now all Americans think it's totally okay to pay a lobbyist to protect me from, like, for example, if I could make $7 million by just investing $1 million to the lobbyist, clearly the government representatives are being bought. Now, I don't, like, when I say this, is that in Canada, we get rid of a premier, which is the same as your governor. We get rid of him if he has a $2,500, what do you call it? Like 10% off deal building his porch. In other words, he has to, that guy has to, $2,500 will get rid of our premier and get rid of him and disgrace the man. But down here, millions don't disgrace, just don't disgrace your elected officials. So when I talk to American people and they go, yeah, I don't care. I don't care. Nothing I can do about it. That's the way it's always been. When they talk like that, I just can't understand that lackadaisical kind of attitude. And it seems it's a pervasive attitude, which surprises me. Anyway, now I've talked, I love it down here. I love all the people that I meet, but there are certain differences that I just, that just don't compute for me, that are like broadly there and available for us to see. Princess Pamela's World says, seems to me that we have a lot of willful ignorant. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of people that would prefer to not know, because then they'll have to question their own ideas and values. So they would prefer to not hear or not think about stuff that they've decided when they were maybe 7 or 8 years old. And I think that's how our mind works. All of these things that are sort of family traditions, or it's always been that way in your head and stuff like that, we should be questioning them a whole bunch of times in our life. Like there's, like spanking kids. I got spanked by my dad, and you know, I, the truth is, it didn't do any good. I didn't stop doing the shit that he was spanking me for, and all I did was learn to hide it from him. And you know, but I grew up. I'm a happy, healthy guy. I don't feel abused, although by today's standards I would have been abused. But I can go to my grave thinking we should spank our kids all the time. Or I could go, well, gee, it didn't do any good in the first place. Didn't do any good to stop me from doing stuff. Punishment didn't scare me. I still carried on doing, meaning that punishment didn't work. Not punishing a kid won't work. Maybe the kids are just going to do what they're going to do. Maybe it's a waste of time trying to control kids, or at least control them in the manner that we've all known. So I can change my view on things. And a lot of older people, that's the hardest thing for me to be around, is another person my age that's still living with the same ideas he had when he was 18, and he never really thought about them since. And he's going to hold on to them because, those are the rock of his sort of system. He's got to have, it's all based on that, on certain facts. And if you destroy one of the facts, now he's going to be completely confused. But being confused isn't a bad state either. Anyway, the point is that we should be able to grow up and redevelop new ideas as the world grows around us. But very few people do that. That's called willful ignorance, or at least my definition of willful ignorance. Gus, I decided to call the little bus the bubblegum shuttle. Oh, okay. That's cool. This is the bubblegum bus. I'll still post everything on the one channel. Yeah, that makes sense. You just keep doing that channel. But have you made a video yet? She's got a YouTube channel, and because she's had trouble with her phone and stuff like that, hasn't really started making a bunch of videos. But we talked about that the other day, and I think she'll get down to doing it. I mean, look at what I'm doing. I'm talking for, I don't know how long we've been on now. Maybe it'll tell me up here. 47 minutes. And I just go, yeah. I don't know how I do it, but I've made a 47-minute video. And I'm trying to show her and others how easy this can be. Now, this isn't the best format for a video, but at least works. Sorry to hear about your brother. Yeah, well, that was like 40 years ago. There's a good example about, whether you spank your kids or don't spank your kids and stuff like that. My brother and I were both brought up in exactly the same environment by exactly the same parents and got treated as close to the same as possible. He had a chip on his shoulder. He learned to drink his face off. He learned to become an alcoholic. He had very little self-esteem, and I eventually grew some self-esteem, although I had very little when I started. He blew his head off, and I was the vice president of a large company. We both looked the same size, probably the same mental capabilities, but we directed ourselves. I had more positive energy, and he had more negative energy. He brought what he got, like he created his life with his negative energy, and I created a much more positive life with more positive ideas. And yet, what happens to us probably was much the same. We just dealt with it differently. Hello, Gus in the Bus this is John Chalker. I love reading this is John Chalker from Otterbury, Connecticut. How are you doing today? You look like you're enjoying your day. Yeah, so far I'm enjoying it, but if you listen to me at the very beginning, I had a bit of a rant In fact, I think I'm being sort of rantful today. I don't know. Uh, I think this being live is kind of funny, but I do need these questions. If you're out there watching, write something in a message in a comment so that I get a question or something to move me on to a new idea. And ask me for like some flower child kind of something where I can say, "Oh, the world is wonderful, and it's not sunny today, but it's cloudy." But it's at least warm. It's going to be around 65 American, 26 or something in Celsius. How are you? How are you doing today? And look like, yeah, that's right. We just read that. Good. Good afternoon from Armchair Wanderer. Hey there. Looks like you're doing well. Gotta go. Have a great day. Okay. See you, Armchair. Well, I think I have to go too. The reason is because I need to go to the bathroom. I need to pee when I'm old. Now that I'm old, I pee more often. It's as simple as that. That's one thing that anybody who's younger can look forward to. Anyway, guys, thanks for coming by. I think it's probably time to go, and I'll see you soon. And don't forget to go and look at my latest video. Now I'm gonna figure out how to turn this thing off.